Program. Pastor Bakare, you have described President Buhari as a colossus and a symbol of hope, but you've also said that he presided over a squandered golden opportunity. How should history really remember him now?
Well, I'm not sure where you got the last part of what you said, that he presided over a squandered I do not understand. I do not know where I said he presided over, squandered anything. History will remember him for good, definitely, because history is lived forward, is written in retrospect. I wish you had looked at the newspapers today. I picked just one of them. This day, the headline is clear: a nation mourns the death of a man who gave his all to Nigeria. And truthfully, from his very young age, especially after I joined the army, all his colleagues, including General Ibrahim Babangida and others, General Abdusalam Abubakar, who called him a senior, General IBB, with whom he was mate, they entered the military school in 1962. They said he was a reserved, honest person. There was nothing you commit to his hand that you will not have peace of mind. Now, a tree does not make a forest. The problems of Nigeria had been there before they came in, and they're still here after they've gone. I pray that God will give us men of vision who will be able to steer the ship accurately and cut off all the excesses we have seen in government and governance in our nation. I knew President Buhari very closely. In fact, I granted an interview several years ago to the news magazine with the caption, "The Buhari I Know." I have no doubt that now that he's gone, some of the attributes and the wonderful things he did will come forth, and people will be able to compare accurately who he was, what he did, in the midst of very many not too good people. That's all I will say for now.
So you've had a relationship with him as far back as 1985, and that deepened over the time. You agreed to be his running mate in 2011, at the time where some referred to him as a religious bigot. Walk us through what you saw in those private moments away from the cameras. What kind of a man did you see, and why did you decide to run with him?
Well, we didn't meet in 1985. What I meant by our destinies intersected in 1985 was simply because that year was the year I started my legal practice. 1984 to be precise, not 85. I was just about 3-4 years at the bar, and I could not start my own private practice. But one morning, General Buhari came to the television on October 1 and abolished private practice decree. The moment he did that, I knew God had me at the back of his mind so that I could start my own practice. And that was what I meant by intersection there. And subsequently, long before 2011, it was led to my office in the church one day, I think that was 2007, by Senator Tokunbo Afikuyomi, who was the governorship candidate for ANPP in Lagos, just to meet with us and to explain what it was about in politics. And I looked him in the face and I asked him to please excuse me to come into my private office. I said, I perceive in my spirit you're not going to win in this 2007, but if you keep on trying, you will eventually win someday. And I latched onto that word, and a relationship began. Many people will not know that when it got to really sitting with President Buhari, the person who actually initiated it is Ashwaju Bola Tinubu. That's the truth. He sent Lai Mohammed to my house in 2000, about 2010 and said, if I could persuade Buhari to run on the platform of AC before it became ACN, and I was willing to broker a meeting between him and them. But I only asked the question, who will be the running mate? Alhaji Lai Mohammed said I should ask Ashwaju. I called Ashwaju, and Ashwaju said, oh, the person that will be the running mate is the greatest grassroots mobilizer in the Southwest. I said, I need a name. But by the time they brought it forward, I said, no, I do not think at this moment a Muslim ticket will go. So I called President Buhari that I will no longer be coming to Kaduna to discuss with him. One thing led to another. I was led to convey the Save Nigeria group, and while we were marching in Abuja, on the streets of Abuja, 4 of them were in an SUV going to the Senate. Late Governor of Kaduna State, Balarabe Musa, Alhaji Guzau, Alhaji Atiku, and himself. And he recognized me because I was in the forefront holding hands with Professor Wole Soyinka that day when we were marching against the hijack of power in Nigeria at that time due to President Yar'Adua's sickness or illness. And he just spotted me there, and he wrote something down that day that if that's Pastor Bakare and he's leading this, is possibly going to be a good candidate. That was the origin of him calling me much later to be his running mate. But after I'd accepted to be his running mate, and I got close enough to witness what I granted in the interview for the newspaper, the Buhari, I know that this man had been labeled to be a Muslim or Islamic fundamentalist and a bigot. Is far from it. All through that period, he allowed me to function properly in church, never gave me an assignment on a Sunday, and not only that, everyone around him, including his bodyguards, were Christians. His driver, who drove him everywhere during the campaign, had been a Christian and has driven him for 10 years. I saw so many things about him at close range, and I said, my God, it's so easy to become a misunderstood man. Buhari was fair to every person, Muslim or Christian. He had many Christian friends, and he will attend their functions, and that's enough to say, I will miss a great leader, a great man, a man that will speak his word and will stand by it, come rain, come shine. But also, a tree does not make a forest. He was not the only person in government. There were other people around him. I do not want to say this, but it is free now that he's gone to say so, that he really, really looked at civil service, and he says sometimes there can be evil service when they package things and bring to you to sign. You have to cross-check, double-check, and be careful they do not put your hands in trouble.
We're going to... We'll talk more about this, Pastor Bakare. I'd like to also find out precisely what happened in 2015. There are a lot of versions to the stories we've heard, but that will be right after this break. We'll continue this conversation, and I'm sure you get to watch it subsequently.